And this time we have a very, very special guest. And as the network has been doing all this year, we met very interesting people that they've started helping us in a process of co-design and co-design in our community. So the Global Pro Bono Network is a community, of course, of different kinds of organizations that we are all around the world. And we were facing a challenge. We wanted to change many things that we know that we can improve our community, how we can make a better governance, how we can have a different kind of operation in which we are more connected and we communicate together. So it was very important to have someone that helped us in that moment. And we were searching. We have been searching like for allies and for some kind of agencies that they do consulting so that they can help us in this process. And actually, we have a very, very good answer from some of them. And some of them that they were really interested in participating with us. But at the end, even when they cut many of their expenses, it was completely like, it was not a way in which we could pay for something like that. So at the end, what it was interesting is to find like who is going to be the ally, who is going to be that organization that is super professional, that is doing something really amazing, that they know how to work with global communities. And then we find, because of the BMW Foundation, an amazing responsible leaders, a group of responsible leaders with Leo Maldonado and Rodrigo Mobarek. And we introduced to them like this challenge. Will you help us? Will you help our community like to build this new model? And it was amazing because their answer was really positive. Of course, the amount of budget, the money that we have like to do this kind of thing was something that they are they are normally charging more, but they accepted this Low-Bono model. So today we're going to talk about how important it is also to consider this way of working. Sometimes it is possible to do it pro bono, but sometimes it's a work like this for a year, and it's a work that needs to be something paid. But at the end, thank you to that, we have this opportunity, and we have now a theory of change, and we have many other things. So welcome, Leo. Thank you very much for being with us today. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for inviting me. So happy to be able to join.
And well, this was like a very brief introduction about how, of course, it is more about how we know your organization, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I think this first question is around when we did to you this invitation and you accepted it and you saw our budget and you say like, okay, I will do it in this way, in a low bono, not charging all what it is the complete cost. And my question is around that, Leo. What motivated you to do it in this way?
So the first answer is easy. It's hard to say no to Mina. Let's leave it there. The second thing is we had already worked with you guys in New York a couple of years ago. We were already in the conversation, and yeah, we were very committed to build a new way of what we call extreme collaboration. And what we're saying is the grand challenges of humanity need to be solved in a very different way from the way we're used to. And that requires huge networks of collaboration worldwide. And so the idea of helping the Global Pro Bono Network to articulate a global network that becomes more than a network. It goes beyond the transactional characteristics of a network and goes into a much more profound space of collaboration and understanding that we are on the same side and trying to produce the same results together was just music to our ears. We've been doing this in many different countries and in many different sectors, but this was a global challenge, and we thought that was very cool and interesting. On top of that, just two more factors to the answer is it was part of the BMW Responsible Leaders Network, and we're always willing to collaborate. We are part of that network, and most of the people we've met along the way in that network are amazing people. So if this was an initiative of the BMW Responsible Leaders Network, we were going to say yes anyways. And last but not least, we believe in pro bono. We really think that I always call it my social responsibility as a person. In the 70s, it made sense to participate in a political party. I'm not sure there are many countries in the world right now where people really want to rally around a political party. Politics doesn't seem to be the right space for taking care of your social concerns. So I don't think pro bono is the only answer, but I think pro bono is an interesting answer to how do we have a role in society beyond our just daily work or stuff.
You are right. And it is like a matter that sometimes it happens to us, like we are the intermediaries helping other organizations like to find pro bono. And it was like so complicated as an organization, like to find someone, or at least to go out. It was not finding, like to go out and ask for pro bono for ourselves. It is like, okay, but we should be doing it for others. It is incredible how these kind of things always happen. Like when you're helping with something, it is very difficult to ask for that kind of help at the end. But it was like asking, as you said, and it is true. This kind of collaboration and BMW Foundation is one of our founders, and they have been amazing supporting our network since the beginning. And something really amazing about the BMW Foundation is the group of responsible leaders. And one of the goals is also like we start like collaborating more with the World Network and Responsible Leader Network, because we have even some of our members that they are responsible leaders from the BMW Foundation. And some people who because today I received that question, like, what's a responsible leader, or what is that? And the responsible leaders is a group of whose leaders that they are acting globally in different kind of areas, but having an impact, a social impact in their countries with different kind of solutions. And the BMW Foundation identified them and invite them to be part of that community, a community of 2,000 responsible leaders in this moment, that they are all around the world doing different kind of things. Amazing people like Leo, that he has been doing like a lot of work in different kind of areas that he's going to tell us a little bit more about it. But we have people that they are doing, I don't know, artists, people that they are doing movies. We have CEOs, we have social entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs. I mean, the variety of people of ages, of countries, it is really something amazing, because there is a lot of diversity. And that leads me to the next question, Leo, because a lot of people that they participate in from our networks, the network and our members were really intrigued about your experience and how did you started doing these kind of things, and what started motivating you to work in the social area, in the social impact?
So the personal answer has two sides. The first one is I'm a refugee. I ran out of my country when I was 9. Actually, not me, but my parents, and I was part of the luggage, I guess. But that, of course, tainted everything I've lived. It always informs my decisions and what drives me. And when I came back to my country, I was 18. I didn't speak the language. and I was supposed to come from this country which I knew nothing about. So being able of calling myself a Chilean was a challenge for me. It was not something that was a given. And so my role in society was a question for me from the beginning. And for obvious reasons, I turned away from politics as a way of participating. Politics was the part of the reason why I have ended in a different country, speaking a different language. So politics was not my way in. And I was always intrigued about culture and how do we deal with things? How does the world appear to us, and what is obvious to do or not to do? What I mean by that is, if you go back a couple of 100 years to the south of the United States, having slaves makes sense. But if you look at it today, having slaves doesn't make any sense at all. So the question is, what does make sense today that won't make sense to my grandchildren? Because if not, I tend to think that I'm right, they're wrong. They didn't know better. 200 years ago, they were completely looking at the world in the wrong way. But now we're right. Of course we're not. We're just looking at it in our historical way, in the way that it has to be done by our generation. But is that right or wrong? How can we understand our own culture? And how can we understand if that makes sense to our challenges? So, for example, part of my own culture is I consume a ton of plastic, of single-use plastic, until one day it didn't make sense anymore. And so at a certain moment, it started to make sense to me to ask in a restaurant, if I'm going to ask for a bottle of water, excuse me, which brand is it? Does it come in a plastic bottle or in a glass bottle? Which is a very weird question to ask the guy on the restaurant. But I don't want my kids to be ashamed of what I've done. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not saying that I figure out the right way of living at all. I'm just saying I'm always curious about our culture. Being part of a process of the Cold War, where in my country there were torture camps. How does a country build torture camps? How does the conversation get there? How do we avoid that conversation? That has been my driver my whole life. And in doing that, I ended up studying philosophy, biology, all kinds of things. I'm actually an architect, but I've dedicated myself to studying a lot of different weird things. And for the last 10 years, we've been articulating innovation ecosystems around the world. And what we've developed is a way of making people talk. Of how do we get people who have very different takes on life to actually collaborate, to actually work together. And part of that became, in a certain moment, Cities Can Be, which is a way of cities moving their SDG agenda through extreme collaboration of all the stakeholders of the city. But yeah, my main concern is, how do you get people to actually listen to each other? And it's so easy to point out our differences. How can we get people to point out what both of us? How do we do that in an era of polarization? So in that process, we've learned a lot, and we've built tools and created frameworks to make people collaborate, even if they don't want to, even if it doesn't make sense to them, and they end up having a good time and building things together.
And I think that makes a lot of sense with the next question that Caro is sharing it. And is what entails extreme collaboration? I like the concept. Can you dive in? What entails?
Okay, so what we're saying is to collaborate with the people I like, the people I trust, the people I know. That's easy. Everybody does that. The question is, if we're going to solve global warming, are we only going to talk to the people we know and we like? Global warming requires the whole planet to work together. If we're going to save the seas, we need to work as a planet. There's no country that can save the seas. If we're going to stop deforestation, we need to work as a species. And that requires to collaborate not only with the people I like and trust and know, I need to collaborate with people I don't know, or even I don't trust, or even I hate. I mean, the States and China are going to have to work together, or we're not going to get through the climate change. I don't care. They're going to have to work together. So what does it take for us to work together beyond trust, not needing trust? And what we've done is we built 4 strategies that we think have worked for us and think we could share with the world and people could use it. And we're writing some books about it, and they're Creative Commons, so you can download them, and it's for free. And those 4 strategies are not the right strategies. They're not the only strategies. Those are the only ones that have worked for us and that we have identified, but we're more than willing to change them and to create new ones. If anybody can help, please do. But the 4 strategies for extreme collaboration that we've found till now are, first of all, you need to create what we call a common epic purpose. What's a common epic purpose? It's a way of looking at life where we're both on the same side of the table. Because it's very easy to be on the other side. It's very easy for me to see you as the enemy. I've got 1,000 reasons to do so. Because you're too tall, you're too young, you're too old, you're from the global north, you're from the global south, you're from left wing or right wing, or not engaged enough because you're not like left or right, you know. It doesn't matter. I can always find a way of being your enemy. But if we can create an understanding where we're going down together, and we're going to have success together, or we're going to fail together. If we can design a play field where that makes sense, then it makes sense to work together. So there's this organization called SETI. And SETI is the search for extraterrestrial life. And it's a serious organization, and they have these huge things are capturing the sounds of the universe and trying to capture if somebody's sending us a signal or whatever. And I once saw an interview to the person who led that. And she said, well, the greatest thing that could happen if we actually found life outside of this planet is that we are going to become one. Because this us versus them, it's going to be us, this planet versus them. And maybe we'll stop fighting between each other. Maybe we'll figure out that if they are invading, we need to work together. Global warming could have done that. It hasn't yet. The pandemic could have done that. It hasn't yet. But it could have done that. And so an epic common purpose is when we see the world in such a way that we say, we need to be together on this. We have a common purpose. And the word epic means a common purpose worth sacrificing over, a common purpose worth giving my life to do so. So if you build a an epic common purpose, the next things you need to understand is how to make people work together. And our common understanding is not very good. Our common understanding is very much from the 20th century, which means we need to get on a group and decide what we need to be doing, and we need to everybody to get on board with that, and we need everybody to stick to the roles, and which is how you run a company. But if you're running not a company but a global movement, nobody's going to take instructions from you. We don't need to agree. It's a completely different ballgame. So who's going to give the instructions? The Chinese to the Americans or the Americans to the Chinese? That's not going to work. So instead of trying to agree on everything, maybe we just need to agree on some little things during some little time for some real weird small reason. And that's okay. If we do that 1,000 times, it works perfectly. And the way to do that is to search for synergies, not for full agreement. And there's 1,000 synergies that can be found. And when we work in specific territories, the first thing we do is get everybody to work synergistically with the others. And what do you need? And what do you offer? What do you have? What's your purpose? And what's your goal this week? Oh, I have the same goal. And everything starts to meet together, to interweave their concerns and their goals. And we can do that very fast. And so collaboration can happen very fast. And then you need to, if you're going to change the world, you need to involve the private sector. The idea that the world's going to be changed by the states or the NGOs only, it's ridiculous. Sure, you can do harm with a company, but you can also do so much good. I'm part of the B Corp movement. We believe that the market can be used for global good. It can be used to solve the grand challenges of humanity. And of course, last, we need to involve the citizens. A serious solution of the serial problems of the world is not going to happen without civic society. And so we've created these 4 strategies of how to do each one of these. And we're writing a book, one by strategy. We're down to the 3rd book, 2 books to go. But yeah, that's about it.
Mhm. Thank you, Leo. And actually, would you help us like to build our common epic? And it is not easy when you are talking about a global community. And even though we knew that we have things in common, it was different to have this kind of conversation. As you mentioned, we don't have to agree in everything. Some of our members are here because of some particular reasons that they are not the same than the others. But at the end, we are together because the main ones that they are important for us, we share it. What is for you the main challenge when you start doing this kind of job? Because building making the design is one part of it, but at the end, implementing it and make people like say, okay, we already have this clear now how we start. What are the main challenges in this next phase?
To say it in 2 words, it's 21st century leadership. What I mean by that is to have the 20th century leadership is easy. It's one person, one idea, everybody follow me. To have this idea that leadership is corrupt and bad and there shouldn't be any, which is very much in vogue these days, it's also easy. So totalitarian leadership is easy. No leadership is easy. Collective leadership, multiple leaderships, that's tougher. But I think that's the only way to go. How do we empower as many people as possible? How do we help them flourish without one overshadowing the other one? That's a difficult equilibrium, but I think that's the only way. One of the things I'm blessed of having participated was in the building of the social movement of Sistema B in Latin America, with thousands of people participating around these B Corps in Latin America and hundreds of different leaderships, all in different styles, all in different countries, all for different purposes. And just articulate them, make them work together. We don't need one man, one woman savior of humanity anymore. It doesn't work. We don't trust it. In the 70s, that's what we had. Superhuman heroes. They drove into revolutions, wars, and repression and concentration camps. But saying, okay, so leaders are bad, let's have no leaders, that doesn't make things work. We don't need the guy from WeWork, but we do need a lot of people pushing themselves to create new worlds. The leadership is the capacity of saying, let's build this that doesn't exist. So when you say, what do we need for things to really happen? We need thousands of those, not competing against each other, but collaborating with each other. If we can have these collaborative, open networks of leadership, things are going to happen so fast.
You're right. And actually, well, I know that Caro needs to leave really, really soon, but this last question is very much related to a conversation that we just have, because we have a Latin American roundtable with organizations from Latin America. Tomorrow, Saturday, we're going to have a roundtable with an organization from Asia. And something that was really interesting was that being together, like having this kind of conversation in which we were speaking our own language, Leo, and that was really, really interesting. We were speaking in Spanish. It was a Spanish session. Let us express ourselves like more from inside, and share feelings and share willings and share other kind of things. And coming out from this meeting, it was like, what is next? What can we do next? What is how can we continue doing these kind of things, and how can we continue connecting? And Carlos mentioned it very, very clearly. We need systemic approach to leadership, because all the members, all the people that they are showing is because they have leadership. They're because of that. So it is not single, as Carlos mentioned. It is the community. It is the collective. But when the collective is this big and is this global, and we have different regions, it is something that is like another case, but it is possible. So what would be your message, Leo, to send a final message to this conversation to our members about what is the kind of leadership that now, in this new way in which we are going to start working as a community, in which way we can make it happen to have that collective kind of result?
So a couple of things. The first one is, let's invest a lot of time in this epic common purpose. Not so much time on the spreadsheets and the tracks and the KPIs, and no. Let's get this global idea of why we're doing it, what we're doing first and well, and then give freedom to the people. Maybe you don't like the way I'm doing things, but if you and me were rowing on the same direction because we think this is what needs to be done, let's give ourselves freedom of doing it the way it makes sense to us. We're different. We're all of us have had your own life, your own experiences, see world in a different way, speak different languages, have different religions. Why should we all act the same way? It doesn't make sense. So it's a mixture of clarity of where we're going and freedom of how to get there, and understanding that complexity is the name of the game in the 21st century. Dumbing it down, making it simple, and everybody doing the same, it doesn't work. We already tried that. That's the 20th century. Forget about that. We don't want to industrialize anything. We want people, to be authentic. And if we allow that, then things happen. Now, why is it not chaos? Because we have our epic common purpose. We know where we're going. So let's cultivate that. Let's take care of that. And let action flow in the way it needs to go. Action needs to be like water. Take any space, any crevices, just flow through life. The idea of channeling, of controlling, of having exact results makes perfect sense if you're building cars in the 19th century. We're not there. That's not what we're doing. We're doing cultural change, and we're doing it globally. We need to really be according to the terrain, according to the circumstances, according to the moods, according to human beings. We're not machines building machines. We're human beings building societies. And so if we have that sense of purpose, then let's give freedom people do the way they think they should do it. And I think we need to take very seriously the fact that the algorithm is polarizing us. We are building interpretation bubbles that are trying systematically to pull us apart. We need to fight back. We need to build bridges. And we need to take that very seriously, because every conversation today is helping polarize, is helping get us apart. It's dividing us under any kind of division possible. So the act of building bridges, the act of holding out your hand and reaching across the board, it's an act of rebellion against the algorithm. It's an act of humanity against the marketing machine that wants our eyes looking at the next bright little thing that will polarize us.
Thank you, Leon. Thank you so much for that, because it is super powerful. We have, for example, the celebration of Pro Bono Week now, but some members have different kind of activities. So some of them might participate here because it makes sense. And for some others, other kind of activities are the ones that they are going to make sense. So at the end, what is important is that we act collectively. We are not doing like the same kind of epic, but alone. For that, we have the community. We can do it with more, but it doesn't mean that everybody has to participate in the same things. And that is going to give us also that kind of peace that I think we need, because sometimes we have this idea that let's go all together, no? That means that everybody is like, no. For some things, it's going to make sense, but for many of them, because of the different kind of not the reasons and the different kind of motivations, not. But at the end, we are all pursuing the same common epic. Thank you, because we have it. Thanks for the work of Gulliver. But I think we are in a good track, and I'm really interested in seeing what is going to happen next year, now that we are going to implement all these. And it is a process that we want to make it very transparent, and we are doing it like this, like showing it what we have been doing and in which process we are. And I think the public stakeholders, everyone is going to see how this global pro bono network has been evolving, and things are coming really, really great. And I think we are going to have amazing results. So, well, and it's a process. It's an infinite game. We're going to have different kind of adventures on this. So, Leo, thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, we're going to share this video with everyone, but it is going to be also public for the ones that are interested in the work that Gulliver is doing, and also in what we have been doing, because this is something that we are doing it, as I mentioned, open and well, about building community. So thank you so much, Leo. Have a very nice day.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining us. And well, tomorrow, don't miss our roundtable. Asia is the last one, and it is amazing. We are going to have so many intermediaries having a conversation about what is going on up in Asia. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Listo. Ya quedó. Mil gracias, Leo.